Hello, everyone. Hey, this is episode 1 of the Reform Party USA platform podcast series. We are the Reform Party USA, the leading moderate centrist U.S. political party that was founded in 1995 around the U.S. presidential candidate Ross Perot, familiar name to some, I'm sure. Our mission is essentially a commitment to returning a voice of reason back to our governance. Now, you can learn more about Reform Party USA at reformparty.org. I am Rick Casa of North Carolina, the chairman of the RPUSA Platform Committee and Southeast Regional Rep for the National Party.
And I'm Richard Walker up in Syracuse, New York. I'm the Northeast Regional Rep. I have 7 states up here in the Northeast that I represent to our national party. And I'm also a member of the Platform Committee.
And I am Sam Gibbons from South Carolina. I am the Communications Committee Chairman and a member of the Platform Committee.
All right, awesome. We are here to discuss the newly revised and relanguaged Reform Party platform that was adopted just a few weeks ago from this recording on October 7th, 2023. Now, in 2021, the Reform Party National Convention had tasked this platform committee to modernize the language of the previous platform and to adjust the language to be more precise and more comprehensive about what we were trying to say in our platform. And we will be going over our 15 stances then to introduce you to the first level languages.
Speaking of levels of language, whenever you look at platform or at Reform Party USA platforms, we have 3 levels. The first level is going to be a short value-based statement of what the Reform Party believes. As you move into the second level, we will be getting into some more details. We like to use data to support our positions, but these will still be more values-based in general. We will be working continuously on the third level language, and those are going to be more in-depth papers that will be written as we interview and really kind of go through in-depth analysis of our positions and issues.
Okay, we're going to start into just reading through the first level language, which is usually just a few sentences on each platform plank, as they're called. So I'll read through the first 5. Government and ethics. Reform Party exhibits and promotes high ethical standards and expects our candidates and all elected officials to do the same. Fiscal responsibility. The Reform Party promotes and practices fiscal responsibility. We hold all who serve in public office at all levels of government accountable for the conservation and proper use of public resources. Tax policy. The Reform Party promotes balanced tax policies built with a focus on economic stability, security, and growth. We seek balance in governmental burdens between all entities that interact with the economy of the United States. These entities include domestic and foreign individuals, businesses, and others who connect to commerce or government services. Legislative processes and lobbying. Reform Party promotes simplicity and transparency in the legislative process and the influences upon it, for example, lobbying. Proposed bills should adhere to a single theme with minimal addenda. The Reform Party maintains that the legislative process, which creates new laws and regulations, must include regular reviews of existing laws and regulations. The 5th one, election process. The Reform Party actively supports education and participation in our government's administration of elections. We hold officials and lawmakers responsible for ensuring ethical and transparent elections. The Reform Party keeps a critical eye on campaign regulations and oversight, Although campaigns are private activities, our government must maintain regulations to prevent harm to the public's trust in the election process. Now we'll hand over to Rick.
Okay, that brings us to number 6. That's the economy and job market. Economic prosperity and broadly available opportunities are fundamental resources in a well-functioning society. The Reform Party supports and promotes job creation and economic policies that prioritize our citizens' best interest in trade agreements, industry, and innovation. Our next plank is individual rights and freedoms. All citizens should uphold the U.S. Constitution, including the Bill of Rights and all subsequent amendments. The U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence inform and guide the Reform Party regarding the responsibilities and limits of government and the rights of U.S. citizens. We promote literacy in these documents. Next is public education. Economic stability and national security are dependent on an informed and educated public. Each level of government has an interest in providing educational resources in all communities. The Reform Party will seek alliances with policy groups and subject matter experts. With their guidance, we will pursue and promote access to education for all and performance and financial accountability metrics for all programs supported with public funds. Next is our healthcare plank. Medical services and treatment should be accessible to all Americans and those in our country. The Reform Party will develop and promote recommendations regarding healthcare availability and financing, including facility-based costs, insurance costs, and government involvement. Our number 10 plank, justice and penal systems. The Reform Party supports refinements and practices that reinforce justice in our law enforcement, judicial process, and penal system. We adhere to the values and principles enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and subsequent amendments that form the foundation of our justice system.
And I'm going to take over at 11. So our next plank is social and cultural issues. The Reform Party promotes and encourages freedoms and assurances named in the Constitution of the United States. The party will not promote a position on social, cultural, and other non-governmental issues. We will engage when constitutional rights and freedoms are central to an issue. Candidates endorsed by the Reform Party may take a position and engage in debate on social and cultural questions. Candidates do not speak for the party. Government size and scope. The Reform Party favors localized government with limited and appropriate oversight. We advocate for government services with a specific mission and scope that is not unduly duplicated by multiple agencies. Programs and services and their administrators should be responsive, available, and accountable. Our next plank, foreign relations. The Reform Party respects the sovereignty of all nations. The United States is responsible for adhering to all treaties and formal obligations it negotiates. The Reform Party is critical of treaties and policies that do not promote mutual benefit. Our next plank is energy and the environment. The Reform Party will promote a balanced approach between the energy needs and independence of the United States and the need to protect and preserve our environment and public resources. And our final plank, national security. National security is the primary responsibility of our federal government. We must preserve our peace, economy, and sovereignty to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. As stated in the preamble of the U.S. Constitution, the Reform Party considers national security in all party policy stances. Our policies promote the security of our national borders, the safety of our citizens from foreign and domestic threats, and the stability of America's economic interests.
We're going to take this moment to suggest how you can help with the Reform Party movement with either membership, volunteering your time, and or monetary donations. The Reform Party believes in fiscal responsibility, including our own. We seek to resolve problems, including those created by oversized financial influence. We are funded by those who believe our mission, principles, and goals are worthy of their support. Nearly all of our support comes from donations of less than $100. Like other volunteer-based organizations, a steady flow of donations, even $5 a month, makes a difference. If what we've said resonates with you, go to reformparty.org and click on Contribute. And don't forget to sign up for our mailing list to get involved. Thank you.
So let's talk about how the platform and the work of the platform committee relates to the whole of the party. The platform itself, as the name implies, is what we stand on. It's principles, it's values, it's the things that make us credible and keep us credible, and also help us understand who we are. If you don't know the purpose of your organization, then you have a very difficult time having conversations about it and be able to discuss it in a defensible way with anybody who asks questions. One of the things we do in our structure is we have state party affiliates. These state affiliates are the actual vote managing organizations, voter outreach and all this, because other than the president, every election campaign happens within the state. The only election that the national party actively participates in is the campaign for president. Everything else is done by state affiliates. Sam, let's go to you for a moment.
Yeah,
you wanted to carry this forward a little further.
So now that I am communications committee chairman, one of the missions that I have is to serve as an outreach to the public. And that outreach is going to be done by espousing our principles. And so the vision and the values that we put within platform are going to be used for tools for recruitment and tools for engagement with the public, and potentially in debates. And so the platform is more than just values. The platform is a tool for the national party and also a tool for the state parties and state affiliates to utilize. There is the possibility that they might adjust some elements to be more appropriate for their individual states. But really, since most of these are values-based, they shouldn't have to adjust much. And in talking about not having to adjust much, I think we want to start to get into some of the methodology and how we crafted these stances.
We're going to talk about it gets a little dull, but you get through the nuances of language and being careful about not phrasing things in a way that makes it, let's say, we want to keep it difficult to misunderstand us.
Yeah.
Sometimes, there's consensus. I'm in the Northeast. You two gentlemen are in the Southeast. Sometimes local language, local usage differs a bit. It helps that we can kind of talk to each other and say, that doesn't sound right here.
Yeah. And there's definitely plenty of that where, the way that we would do most of this is we would come into a Zoom meeting. Rich would open up the platform for the evening, and then four of us would stare at that document and just talk and debate and type and retype and, and just go through, and it might take, 2-3 hours or 2-3 settings of a couple hours on some of these to really write them until they sounded right. And that was a weekly occurrence. Like it really, as our group continued to kind of build, we went from meeting like every other week to meeting every week.
Yes. And this wasn't a deviation from much of what was being said originally. It was just expanding upon it and saying it better and being more precise. And what was the terminology I used? More comprehensive, so that there aren't any ways to mistake what we were saying.
Yeah, one of the things that I know differed from the prior platform is we were able to be a little bit more wordy because we wanted this to be, the prior platform, we wanted it to be presentable, kind of like on a index card handout kind of thing. So you really had to squeeze your words down to like a sentence for the first level language. In the current platform that we've just adopted, we're allowed to, we can comfortably have 3 or 4 sentences in first level language because the presentation of it, we did a trifold for the convention and did not have to shrink the font too small to fit everything together. It was very comfortable. That's something you want to make sure there's a abbreviated version, the first level language shortened version that can be easy to hand out, easy to have in a conversation, a quick read on the website, and then you start building some depth from there.
Another thing that we were very careful about doing is writing a lot of these stances. Like, we're the national party, and so it's very easy to focus on national problems. But we wanted to make sure that these stances could be quickly transferred to state and to local levels, right? So whenever we talk about fiscal responsibility, it's not just fiscal responsibility of the federal government, although that's what, my mind immediately goes to. It's fiscal responsibility of the state governments and the local governments. And that was kind of a big thing, is we wanted to write the platform in a way that was transferable to all levels of government.
That's a very good point, Rick. I'm going to jump in ahead of you. Very good point. Because I remember in those discussions, we end up doing some research and double checking things like, what entities what government entities are allowed to have debt, what levels of government can have debt, and what form that debt can take, and make sure that we phrase, when we talk about fiscal responsibility, we want to phrase things in a way that apply to all levels of government, not just, the national debt thing that seems a little abstract and too big. And but yes, to get it to apply to state and local government as well.
These are values that we want to be transitioned to local levels, because we are putting more of a focus on building grassroots effort here at local, state government building blocks to reestablish a very viable reform party. But the language had to be correct in order for us to do that.
Something I think about on that point, and I've expressed this a few times, is we wanted to make sure that our platform was consistent within itself, that there was no piece of the platform that disagreed with another piece of the platform. So that also sets it up to be easily defended in a debate. If we have a topic that comes along and we can tie it to something that we've worked diligently through on the platform, then we're going to be able to debate from a good position.
Very good.
Yeah, and beyond just each stance making sense, there was an effort to ensure that all stances were consistent and that they did not contradict each other. Right? So we didn't want to have some sort of logical flaw within our stances. Well, where if you believe this here, you can't believe this here. And I think that is important in a set of values, that you don't have yourself, in a state of disconnection, right? And that's going to be a part of us, engaging in debates and being able to refer to other stances instead of having to explain, why one stance doesn't mean what we think it means.
Now, some of these stances are very relatable to one another. Others may not be, so it's almost like some of them come in groupings. So we're gonna talk about some groupings here. A nice little segue here about the podcast, the platform podcast series that we plan on expanding upon here. We'll be going into some of these groupings and discussing the second level and the more detailed nuances of each of the platform stances.
Yeah, so I guess our goal after we end this is to talk about which stances we would like to group together and how we would like to group them, either in twos or threes, so that we can go ahead and we can give them, their due diligence and explain them without it being completely overwhelming. So yeah, we're assuming we're going to have at least 5-ish more episodes, maybe a couple more. I doubt any less. But if you want to find us and be able to read through these stances before we go through them, you can find us at reformparty.org.
Yep, .org.
Yep. And we will see y'all again in the next episode of the Reform Party Podcast platform series.
Right on.
Very good. Thanks.
All the listeners, I hope you stayed with us all the way through. We'll get back to you soon. Thank you.
Sure.